My name's Hamish Pringle. I work for a company called Pringle & Pringle, but I'm also a strategic advisor to a creative communications agency called 23Red, and I'm a council member of the Advertising Standards Authority. The way I got into the industry was that when I was at university, I spent most of my time at Trinity College, Oxford, doing the costume designs, set designs and publicity for theatrical productions and the occasional college ball. So when it came to real life, I looked around for a job that might combine that kind of commercial creativity. So I looked at publishing, broadcasting, art galleries, theatre, all those kinds of things, but I eventually landed on advertising as being the one for me. In terms of the 10 companies that I've worked for, the one that stands out in my mind as having a great company culture was an agency called Abbott Mead Vickers. And the reason I say that is because in their DNA, they had a no. And by that I mean they had something they wouldn't do. And many companies have an endless list of things that they will do. Very few have a no. And the no in Abbott Mead Vickers' case was no, we will not do cigarette advertising. And they declared that no at their outset. And at that time, a lot of agencies were making a great deal of money out of cigarette advertising. So Abbott Mead Vickers were very much in the line of the Bernbach dictum, which is a principle is only a principle when it costs you money. The single must-have that you need for an effective internal messaging campaign is you've got to have a piece of glue. You've got to have an idea, a central unifying idea, which binds the company together, both internally and externally. That's the crucial thing. And a very good example of that would be the John Lewis partnership. And they say, never knowingly undersold on price, quality and service. And that bit of glue has driven that business enormously well. The reason that the stories of the founders are so important in building a culture, successful culture for an organisation, is because those stories become part of the narrative drive of the organisation. Right from the very beginning, the foundation myth, how I started this thing, where I hung my shingle on my door and so on, all the way through to what the leader is doing now. Because of course, that leader is a walking, talking brand ambassador. And they create that narrative drive which binds everybody in the organisation and gives them the motivation to go forward too. In an organisation, we used to have top-down, command and control type cultures. And the problem with that is that the people at the bottom of the pyramid are kind of meant to be obeying instructions and carrying out orders, and that is generally very demotivating. So what I mean by a self-confident organisation is a situation in which, yes, the top management has laid down the outline, laid down the general direction, laid down the script, if you like, but the employees are empowered to ad-lib around that script, to give their very best personal performance and interpretation of that idea. And that's what delivers great customer service, amongst other things. What I'm going to talk about in my Bridge talk is how do you really get employees to engage with your culture and your brand. And within that I'm going to talk about moments of truth, getting employees to recognise how powerful they can be. I'm going to talk about narrative drive, how do we keep the momentum going inside a company, and how does that translate into a motivating thing for employees. And finally, a mysterious thing called memes. They're bits of behaviour, ideas, gestures, signs, things that can be passed on and almost kind of replicated within an organisation. And if you get some memes going in your company, they become shareable and they become a kind of visual and verbal code for your people, and that provides cohesion there. So a good example of that would be the Asda Pocket Pat, where at the end of their commercials they have someone patting their pocket to say, I've got a good deal here, and that little signal is very powerful. I think the main thing that I'd like to come out of my Bridge talk is the idea that employers are in competition with people's social and private lives. That when people come to work during the day, the key thing is to make it as exciting and interesting as what they're going to go home to later at night. So if you like, if an employer can create a drama, a work drama, which is as compelling as the favourite soap that someone's going to go home and watch that evening, that's a great result. And that requires a lot of work and a lot of energy. It's not simply a question of opening the factory door and closing it at night. You've somehow or other got to engage people all the way through their working day. Give them a story, give them something to aspire to. And it's not just about money, it's about higher order benefits of being in work, and that's why corporate social responsibility is becoming so motivating for people.